Yes?
I have a petition here to stop the Space Channel from showing so much Star Trek. Could I please get your signature?
What show?
Star Trek. Look at the space schedule here. Star Trek the original, Star Trek the Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager. It's all they play, and it's gotta stop.
Do they play Magnum P.I.?
No, ma'am, they don't. They play Star Trek. The only people that watch this crap live in their basement and have no lives. They wear stupid costumes, go to conventions, and call themselves captain and stuff. It's gotta stop, and will you please sign my petition?
Well, I still don't know what you're talking about, but I'll get my son to sign for you. Gary, get up here, dear. He lives in the basement. Such a nice boy.
Butak!
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Doha Jupadak Hasta. Charkum Raj.
And that was better by so much a way than the Starfleet Academy.
Okay, are you receiving us out there after that excitement? Hailing us. It's the USS Warp Drive. We're back. We're live. We're raw. Beaming in and crashing out here in our drinking den. Here in our drinking den, it's tucked away somewhere on the USS Athena for now. I think it probably moves around a little. It's called 10 Backward. So that's the sign to look above the door, serving up Trek talk, banter, and other bollocks right up your Alpha Quadrant. All you have to do is stay right where you are, and we're going to send it all over directly to your table for you to comment along with too. Why all of this and why now? Yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time. We've already been on the hard stuff, it has to be said, partly in celebration of 60 years, 6 whole decades of Star Trek that Paramount announced was going to be a thing throughout 2026. Obviously, it's been somewhat of a checkered history. There's been a clear divide between the 20th and the 21st century incarnations of Star Trek. That which pleased people and that which kind of hasn't. But we're doing everything that we can here to get things back on track, just the way that Gene Roddenberry himself would have wanted. I'm not quite sure how we'll do between the 5 of us, but we haven't done too badly so far, Gary, have we?
Well, today I think is going to be the real test, covering this particular episode.
I mean, Star Trek has seemed like something, certainly internationally, that hasn't had a great deal of relevance for the 10, maybe even 20 years. Roddenberry himself had some time in the wilderness, didn't he? He didn't have a massively successful career, it's fair to say, until he was very late in life. But his legacy has really and truly lasted, but done so much damage over the last few years. Star Trek has sort of been back in the news cycle this week, but sort of caught up with mundanity and people talking about the things really that I don't think he would have wished people to be speaking of concerning his most famous creation, namely the way that the current most recent chancellor, whose name I can barely remember, isn't she Captain Aki? Isn't that her name?
No, she's Mumbles.
Yeah, no,
Mumbles, Captain Mumbles.
Captain Aki.
Yeah, so everybody who was paying any attention whatsoever is really wound up by the way in which this character simply can't sit in a chair properly for longer than about 10 seconds without rolling around, removing articles of clothing, scowling at someone, or as you say, mumbling incoherently to anyone who's passing, Chris.
Well, Dan, it's not even, as this episode showed, and we'll probably talk about, it's not even that she can't sit in a chair properly. She can't even sit on a couch without squirming around and flipping positions and leaning over the back. It's like she doesn't even know how to sit on a couch without going into contortions all over the place.
Well, also, Gary, let's not forget that she gave a dressing down to cadets while wearing her warp core jammies.
I hope that Paramount actually sells those, because I'll buy a pair if they.
For something to capture people's imaginations instantly is one thing, but for one single factor of one character to inspire so many negative memes in just over 7 days, that's really something. You must have seen the conversation surrounding this absolutely everywhere, Gary. I mean, this isn't exclusive to this episode we're going to be talking about in a little while. This seems to be the cultural impact of Starfleet Academy so far, this brand new live action show. All anybody is talking about is this actress and this character, and how she can't sit still for 10 seconds.
Yeah, and I got a lot of memes, some very creative this week, about Kirk lounging in his chair or Picard sitting there curled up in his chair. That curling up in the chair, and I said it last week, that did more damage to her character than anything. Oh, and how many shots of the bare feet, Dan, did we get in this episode?
Somebody's got a fetish.
She's
look, Chris, it's not a fetish. It's the fact that, they make it a point for when she even puts her feet up on her own desk. She'll put her feet up on tables, and it's not like a little
I'm not talking her. I'm saying somebody, one of the geniuses.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
Behind
yes.
this.
Yes.
Because the ongoing joke with Quentin Tarantino is he obviously has a foot fetish. Somebody on this show has a foot fetish. These people are not normal. Take your fetish and make your own show. We don't need Star Trek foot fetish. Thank you.
I really think it's her. I think it's her interpretation of the character. Like, oh, she likes her tootsies to be on the whatever. What was that stupid line last week or the week before?
And Rabbi, aren't there as usual, aren't there controls on the armrests of Captain's chair? Just by lounging like this, she's probably like jettisoning the warp core or something, because she's laying on all these buttons, which are usually on the armrests.
Well, Gary, actually, she can. If anybody remembers the original series, Star Trek, the original series, Court Martial, Kirk can literally jettison, theory, jettison somebody into space death by hitting a button on his chair. So she probably just killed somebody.
Yeah, the little research pods.
Again, guys, you are trapped in a delusion. This is not Star Trek.
Yes.
This is a YA show with a Star Trek coat of paint.
I think they would have done better just to call this show Space School, but then it probably wouldn't have even gotten picked up.
I've got a term for it, because a lot of people call it Hogwarts in space. I just call it Space Warts, which I think
Star Trek the brand have got very defensive about this. They've noticed the memes, and I believe they do keep track of the conversations that they purport not to care about, and they've gone in running defense, I think. So this was from the official account just yesterday. So after well over a week of solid piss taking, their take is that their lead, Holly Hunter, is leading with confidence and comfort. I don't think I've seen a lead actor or actress look so uncomfortable in a character, never mind on a set, possibly ever.
Dan, that is
watching
not
any show.
And that is not a slogan that has anything to do with Star Trek. That's something that you see on a sign at IKEA. Leading with confidence and comfort.
That's actually quite true, Gary. It does sort of like she's promoting a chair or a sofa, but she must have one hell of a good chiropractor, because her bloody core must be shot to pieces with all these sort of like positions she's getting in. Absolutely. They must be working overtime.
Well, David, I actually kind of ended up questioning that myself, because when she's dressing down the students in her jams, she's actually grabbing her back. They never actually wrote that into the script. It just looks like she put her back up. At least,
I noticed that.
I don't think any of it's in the script. I think, as I said last week, I think this actress does not believe in the character that she's been contracted to play. She's trying to make herself more comfortable in the role and in her environment. And so we're watching her, a professional of some decades standing, sort of wrestling with her own character, I suppose, and probably realizing that she may have, I don't think she's necessarily bit off more than she can chew, but that she may not be the best fit for either the character or the entire fictional universe at large, the whole Star Trek universe, because it just looks clunky, it looks awkward, and it looks uncomfortable. It doesn't speak of confidence to me personally.
I agree.
Dan, look, times are tough. She had a choice of selling the yacht or doing this show. Okay, and what's the point of having a house in the Hamptons if you don't have a yacht, right? So like that's why she did the show.
Right.
The yacht is not worth it, dude.
I mean, of all the things, though, that people should latch onto about a new Star Trek show appearing, we've had this before in the past, not just in the 90s, but when Discovery launched, people would talk about the new ship, that and the new theme tune and that kind of thing. But with this, literally everyone is just, what's with the old bird wiggling her feet around? What's wrong with that woman? That's all the conversation I'm hearing about the impact of the debut of this show.
Well, here's why, Dan. More than every single Star Trek show has to be anchored by a well-developed, solidly played captain. That is whatever else you remember about the shows. If shows that aren't all the good Star Trek has been anchored by a strong captain. They're going out of their way not to make her in that mold. She doesn't have to be Kirk. She doesn't have to be Picard, but she has to be the fulcrum around which the whole show spins. Yeah. And everybody, I think, is just laughing at the fact that in no way, this is perfect, because in no way is she in the tradition of what we expect from Star Trek captains.
I don't want to say about the picture. I like that it's the Vic Montagna Kirk, not the William Shatner one.
Yeah.
Some of the feedback I've seen on social media today, this past week, of people of whom have been defending Starfleet Academy, and they're absolutely perfectly entitled to defend it if that's what they believe. Just as like we're perfectly entitled to criticize it if we don't like what we see. But they've been comparing, the start of Starfleet Academy to the start of TNG. The difference is
no.
Yeah, in the fact that nobody liked TNG for the first couple of seasons and all this and the other. But the problems with TNG for the first two seasons were not your leading cast, were not your actors. It was huge wrestling power, sort of different sort of trips between the writers' room, between Maurice Hurley, between Gene Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's lawyer. You had Rick Berman trying to sort of steady the ship as well, because Gene Roddenberry wasn't very well, and loads and loads of writers were fired. But beyond all that, you had believable characters, and you had damn good actors as well, with Patrick Stewart trying his best to establish the character and to take it forward. And this, it seems, that you've got terrible scripts along with really unconvincing portrayals for your lead characters. So it's in no way similar to the first two seasons of TNG. The problems were offset, if you see what I mean, in the writing room, and who was controlling it. Not they know who's controlling Starfleet Academy. They're just not controlling it very, very well. It's
a pretty show. There's a lot of pretty people with big bright smiles in it, even the Klingon, which is really weird. It's a pretty show in that respect, but in others it's very, very ugly and awkward in the tech and the designs and the performances, as we've been said before. None of it looks convincing. I don't know.
No,
it's not. It's not the kind of production you would expect to launch something like Star Trek 60, which they clearly have a plan for this to last all year and for it to build and to build and to build. At least they've considered something this time. They weren't prepared for the 50th at all. But I don't know. I just think this is Gary, unimpressive.
You're going to think that what I'm about to say is a joke, but it's not. I'm being totally serious. For me, I realized about halfway through watching this episode that the only way that this show makes sense is to view it as a comedy. If you watch it thinking it's a comedy, then a lot of the stuff, plays a lot better.
Is this something people watch in the Star Trek universe? Like when they want to watch a Holo show, and they watch Starfleet Academy. That makes sense now. Now it's in the universe.
Yeah,
because it doesn't feel serious. I think the fact that Tawny Newsome is involved in this, and I know that she was initially just a voice actress on Lower Decks, but as I understand it, she became quite heavily creatively involved in that.
Yes,
and she's now very heavily creatively involved in this as one of the producers.
And she's developing another show as well.
Is she written another Star Trek show, or just another TV show?
No, another Star Trek show.
So I think that could account for this tone, because now we've sort of looked back on that. It does remind me a little of Lower Decks and how that made me feel, because that disenfranchised me. I mean, I've been told that I should go back and take a look at that, and it did evolve, and it did tighten, it did assert its identity, but it was also, you knew what you were going into when that show started. There was no pretenses about it. It was sold to people as being, despite being set in the same universe, that it was a parody, that it was deliberately funny, and it would be subverting. So you think, well, okay, you read about something like that as a formula. You think you either know instinctively whether you are down for that or you're not. But here you've got something which looks like a conventional, from the outside looking in, from the way that it was publicized at first, just the latest Star Trek show in live action, seemingly for an adult audience, and we'll come to that in a little while. This isn't meant to be that, and yet it feels like an extension of Lower Decks rather than an extension of hey, not even Discovery, never mind Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Next Gen, TOS, and all that kind of thing.
It feels like the bastard love child of Discovery and Lower Decks.
But if we're talking about the characters, though, I think, for example, what's her name, Genesis? I think that I like that character. I can see kind of where they're moving. The main character, Caleb, is still annoying to me, but I can see kind of where they're moving some of the other, and then the holograph girl. Somebody needs to explain to me why a holographic girl needs to take a shower. The characters that really just feel wrongly played and wrongly conceived to me are the adults. Holly Hunter is just, I don't know what she is. The now lesbian Jem'Hadar woman who is like, playing it like she's right out of Officer and a Gentleman, with the shouty military instructor.
You see, Gary, can I just come in on that point about the shouty first officer of the Athena, who's shouting and having a right go and trying obviously to be the sort of do it in a sort of comedic way. I think you're right about the fact about the comedy, because if it was meant to be serious, I do believe that the correct way to play that would to be quieter, and to dial it down quite a lot. But she's quite, because of the way that she barks out orders and says something about decapitation, I meditate to decapitation and stuff like that. It's quite clearly being played, and I love my comedy. I feel that it's quite clearly being played for laughs. So I think, are we in this sort of bizarre situation where some people think it's a drama in the writer's room and some people think it's a comedy, and they are caught between a rock and a hard place as to how to project it?
I disagree, right? I disagree. I think it's being written so people can watch it at the same time as they're scrolling on their phone. Right?
Second sight viewing.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's written. That's why everything's very obvious and on the nose, because there's no subtlety to anything. It's being written for a dumbed down audience.
Well, and David, you were talking about the Jem'Hadar character, about how is played for laughs. I mean, we have that 5-minute scene in the middle of the episode where the story stops dead so we can find out that they're lesbians.
Okay.
And they can be talking about French dinners and going off and what they want for dinner and all this kind of stuff, which has nothing to do with anything other than just letting us know, hey, here's the, now we're going to take a break so we can inject all the agenda stuff into it.
The ESG required plot line.
Yes.
Yes.
I think next week they're going to make it even worse by finding out the Jem'Hadar character is actually the bottom, not the top. So
I thought you were going to say next week we were going to have a love scene.
It's
I can see that.
I thought.
All of these talking points are a far cry from anything that Gene Roddenberry would have tolerated, never mind envisaged for his legacy going forward. We're going to be comparing our take on this very latest screened mission in the next minute or two. I know that's what everybody's here for, so stick around and you can join in to add your thoughts and comments, your rants and raves there in the comment section as we make sure your communicator, if you've retrieved it from the toilet bowl after last week, fasten that on so you're able to chime in. And let's see what everybody made of this latest episode 3 of Starfleet.
Excuse me, I'm interested in the new collector's ornament from Hallmark.
The shuttlecraft Galileo from the Starship Enterprise.
Precisely.
It lights up when you plug it in. And listen.
Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Spock here. Happy holidays. Live long and prosper.
Fascinating.
For a store in your sector now carrying the Star Trek ornament, call 1-800-HALLMARK.
Live long and prosper, right?
No, I'll take 5.
Oh, those were the days.
You get a free subscription.
Do you
get a free subscription to the Mary Sue with that as well?
There was a guy who wanted a custom coffin to be built in the shape of a original series shuttlecraft, and I think Thailand or some Oriental country where they're famous for doing that. Right, so they sent them that ornament, right, to make this is a true story, to make the coffin. And they made it with the giant hook on top, which the ornament had, that you can hang on the tree.
Okay.
That's a real story. That actually happened.
I'm trying to get things back on track here. Okay, so we've got the signals are coming in. We have got some comments there in the live chat. We're live streaming to Rumble and YouTube right now, talking about the latest live action Star Trek series as chosen by Paramount to begin the 60th anniversary coverage. It introduces viewers to a group of young cadets who all come together to pursue their common dream of optimism under the watchful eye and the demanding needs, requirements of their duties and their instructors as they learn what it takes to become Starfleet officers. That's the premise behind Starfleet Academy, this latest Star Trek show. Paramount Plus are dropping this all over the world all at the same time, so we all get to suffer in unison globally with this. So that's you could say that as a good thing. The right word. It's over quicker, I suppose you could say. And the synopsis for this episode goes something like this. So it's called Vitus Reflux, believe it or not. I know I struggled with that as well. I'm still not entirely sure what that means. Okay, but this week the Academy cadets and the students of Starfleet's neighbouring war college face off in a competition to see who has better tactical skills, leading to some off-hour shenanigans between the rival teams. We're meant to find this all desperately amusing. I got the impression. I didn't. Spoilers, I didn't at all. This one's written by Lane Morgan. No, it isn't. Excuse me. This one's written by Alex Torb and Kylie Roster and directed by Doug Ariakoski. Whoever that is. And it says that tensions rise fast as the newly emerging bonds and blossoming romances between both groups of students are put at risk here as the conflict escalates. So I think we're meant to find all these hijinks really amusing. And I think that the idea is that by the end of this episode, which is again the best part of an hour, we will have gotten to know all of these characters and what makes them tick that little bit more as the adversity bonds them together. I think that was the idea, but I actually found this quite a chore to get through this episode, and the things that I latched onto about all the characters from the first two, they'd sort of, that instinct to want to get to know them gradually was drained away by the hour I spent watching this. I mean, so what was your take, Gary? Any more joy? Did you find this enjoyable?
As I said, I think the only character that I'm really like is the Genesis character. I actually also think Vitus Reflex is the name of the plant, right?
Is it?
I think so.
I thought that's why they titled it.
I must have missed that.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and get on to the main thing that pulls me out, just like it did in the pilot, and this time it was on overdrive, is for a show that's supposed to take place in the 32nd century, why is everybody talking like it's frigging 2025? I mean, we get a Romulan who actually says, dude, he smoked you. And then later double flips off the Academy cadets. We get contemporary terms like PR dumpster fire and laser tag. And then we get, sprinkled around the episode, we get such Star Trekian terms like douchebag, frickin', somebody says kid shit. We get 3 assholes in a row. The Betazoid Princess says BS. We get POS at some point. We get the Megado saying, why don't you blow my horn? And then the other character going, whip it out, bro. We got the Hard Light Girl saying, I can make myself permeable, bitches. And then at the end, in the little wrap-up scene, in a scene that was actually written and scripted and acted, the main character, Jaden, says, so, like, what would you say to somebody? I sat there going, wait, so they scripted and actually said the word like in a sentence. So, like, what would you say to somebody? It's like, why can't anybody, I guess we've abandoned all the kind of elevated, classy language of pretty much every other show in this franchise. And this looks like, they're talking like, some CW show or whatever. But I mean, the swearing and the crassness in this episode was just off the chart. And more than anything, the bad acting, the bad writing, that totally pulls me out of this series.
I think I'd imagined, Gary, that they were doing that initially to reach a mainstream audience that may not necessarily have given a Star Trek show a second look had it not been for the fact that the principal cast was made up of young actors who perhaps are in their age group, or they fancy one or two of them, or whatever. And I sort of pinned my hopes on the fact that all of those current day-isms from the first week in particular would gradually lessen. And so, just as you've said, to actually get to the third one and find there's way more of them, they lent on that far more heavily. I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing, never mind what I was seeing. And what I was seeing was pretty bad as well.
So I guess this series has set, like a broken new ground for Star Trek in that this is the first Star Trek show to use the term douchebag and various other things. So I guess we'll give it that.
1,000 years in the future, we're still using terminology and a certain degree of sort of technology, and our style of clothes are the same. 1,000 years in the future, it's this entire thing. As far as I'm concerned, the premise of this show, the central conceit of it, everything it's built on, it is falling away from under its feet to the point where I find it impossible to stay with now for longer than 2 or 3 scenes at a time before something smacks me right between the eyes, Rabbi. I'm finding this a real chore now after just 3 episodes.
Well, I watched this last episode on 1.5 speed because I couldn't do it. I would have watched it at double speed if I could understand what they're saying. I just couldn't do it. It's awful. It's horrible in every way.
And yet it's quite pacey in places. It's energetic, but it still feels empty to me.
Because it is. It's completely vacuously empty. It's not just that it's not a Star Trek show. It's not a very good show. It's very bad. It's written badly.
This would have never gotten paid. If this didn't have the Star Trek label on it, no way would this have ever gotten greenlit.
Maybe on like the Sci-Fi Channel in the 90s.
The characters feel like cliches. You can't. I wouldn't say archetypes, but I think they feel like cliches. Again, it's a young series, only just started. It's fine to start out with characters like that. How much expectation should we put on literally a brand new show? But I think the characters are devolving. I mean, the guy, the English guy who can sometimes turn blue. I can't even remember his name now. I remembered last week. I knew who they all were. This week,
Chris had a name for him, but I can't remember. Chris, what was your name?
Toxic Timmy.
Toxic Timmy.
Well, here let's just do that lineup. So, facing backwards, we have Plumpy. Then from left to right, we have Baby Pants, Girl Boss Genesis, Toxic Timmy, and the Hefty Graham.
His performance in this, the guy playing Toxic Timmy. I don't know if he is actually British, but that character, so that's Darren Ramey. He was terrible in this. Every single
that's not
scene.
Toxic Timmy. That's Baby Pants.
No. That's Toxic Timmy.
That is Toxic Timmy. My mistake.
Yeah, Baby Pants is Cootie Pants Dylan's brother.
Okay, fine.
The guy on the far
left.
mascot. But
yeah.
So much hinged on him, on that character of Darren, of us believing that he was going through a crisis of where he'd been uber confident, getting up at 4 a.m. to find that there's always somebody else who can get up earlier.
Not just anybody else, Dan. It's Girl Boss Genesis. She's awesome. That's the whole point of the episode.
Again, I liked her the first couple of weeks, but she was intolerable in this. She was horrible for the most part.
Oh,
look, Toxic Timmy. All he has to do. Okay, answer this yes or no question. Did he look good with his shirt off?
No.
See, I don't know. Look at this picture.
He's got a bit of a paunch.
Look at this picture. Why haven't they made the Carrot Top in the back one of the main characters?
Oh God,
Ginger Rights.
He's white. He's a white dude. He's banished to the back. Bastard.
That's terrible makeup he's wearing. He looks like he's come off the set of the
monster.
Thriller music video from 40 odd years ago. God, that's hideous. That's
He's
hideous.
probably an alien that was in like the animated series or something like that.
And in terms of the message of the story, where it becomes clear that both of the commanders on the war side and Holly Hunter are basically either tacitly or openly, going along with all of these hijinks. But at the beginning, where they teleport all of the cadets into various spots, so they teleport cadets into like a classroom, which is fine, but then they teleport like people from a height, into fountains where we might think that the holograph girl could drown. I'm not sure if they wanted us to think that. In one case, they teleport a cadet onto stairs and tumbles down. That could be potentially fatal. And yet they don't shut it all down right after that, because and then at the end, when you have the Vitus reflux plant, they're slamming cadets into the window. We see the shots of all the War College thing getting slammed into it. That looked kind of dangerous to me. If you're being grabbed by a giant plant and slammed full force into a window, and yet
these are all just harmless pranks. Nothing to see here.
Well, Gary, that was one of the things I was going to say, in addition to this possibly being the worst episode of Star Trek I've ever seen. Considering this is Mumbles' idea, Captain Mumbles may potentially be responsible for murder, because if you look at that scene with the psychotic talking plant, there's one where it almost looks like it takes a cadet's head off. And then the 2 cadets that got like thrown up against the wall, you're not going to survive that. So Mumbles is a murderer. Our scrappy young Zoomers are murderers. What kind of message are we trying to send here? Oh yes, and let's not forget potential harassment. Wouldn't beaming a bunch of people out of a shower into like classrooms be constituted some type of harassment when you're seeing as ding dong?
Yes.
Also, the other question is, well, I guess the members of those certain communities don't have to pretend to be other genders, considering everybody now showers in the same shower. And as
if they're in Starship Troopers, they've got group showers, haven't they?
Well, and also, as I mentioned in my video, you do not want to be going into that shower room without flip-flops, unless you're girl boss Genesis, because she doesn't care. But yes, my main takeaway point is this is the first captain where we've advocated and perpetrated first-degree murder against cadets with a psychotic talking plant. That was our episode, folks. That's for those of you that haven't seen it. The climax of this episode is probably one of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see in Star Trek. A psychotic talking plant takes a cadet's head off and takes out a building. And one would think, if this were real life, somebody would want to investigate Mumbles, given that we have at least 3 dead cadets that I could tell, probably more. And the fact that the entire building is uninhabitable because you cannot disturb this plant, as it's said. So we're never going to see that resolution. So basically, Mumbles can do whatever she wants because to these people, there is no consequences or concept of consequences, which is part of this whole culture and definitely part of the culture of the people that came up with this nonsense. And basically Mumbles is mad at them for having their unauthorized game, but not mad when people die because Mumbles planned it herself. So the funny thing is, I don't think the writers of this show even actually realize that they just condoned a chancellor committing murder. Aiding and abetting murder. So I would like to see an explanation of that. I mentioned the episode Court Martial from the 1960s. What we witnessed today on screen is much worse than what happened in Court Martial, where Kirk may have accidentally jettisoned somebody. Yes, well, they were in a crisis situation and somebody had monkeyed with it. But, maybe justifiable in that case. But again, I cannot say this enough. Our chancellor murdered at least 3 people. I want my court martial.
Slipped after the burn, right? I think
taking a few steps back from this episode. So it's an hour's worth of screen time. As nauseating as the premise is, as un-Star Trekky as the framing of the whole thing seems to be, it's still, as a story, it's a viable enough premise. Put 2 sets of kids against one another, outdoing one another with pranks and things like that. We get it in the Police Academy movies and things like that, as well as genuine drama, sort of coming of age dramas. The kids' TV channels are full of that kind of stuff, sort of shows that actually are aimed at juveniles. Just add magic and the Bestigators and all that stuff on the Disney Channel and the kids stuff that's on Netflix. It's loads of stuff like that. Firstly, this is aimed at slightly older people and up, I would say, judging by the language. And secondly, the virtue of having a nauseatingly simple, a vapid story like that is that it should all play out really quite simply. And by the time the episode closes, I mean, firstly, you should be able to wrap something like that up in a lot less time than an hour. This really did drag on, but they unnecessarily complicated it all as well. And any opportunity that they had to instill a little bit of jeopardy in there somewhere, if not putting the students, the cadets, in actual danger, that can't happen in this unless a holodeck malfunctions and things like that again. They tell you that they can't be killed by these weapons. So to instill other senses of fear in them, and for us as viewers to invest that whether they win or lose, this means something to them. That should be the weight of this. And I could see they were trying to do it at various points. But because all the characters, as we get to know them, they're actually all becoming a lot less likable. And so therefore I struggle to care. Yeah. And when things do get a little bit more exciting in that final quarter where things actually start to happen, it's all over so quickly. That kind of the heist, the kind of Ocean's 11 aspect that this episode could have had it just feels completely neutered. So there's no momentum to it that builds up. And just as you described there, Gary and Chris, you talked about how the plant sort of gradually seeps its way into all those dorm rooms and fills the war college there where should have been likely fatalities. That should have had some sort of sense of menace about it. Mm-hmm. But it's all played for laughs to the point where, so by the close of it, everybody just looks like a massive smart ass, and I feel like I've wasted an hour of my weekend.
Yeah. Well, Dan, can I come on the back of that point, please? And I promise to expand on it as well.
I haven't got a great deal more to say. That's the sad part about it.
I'm gonna start off with a comment, if you don't mind, and I'll carry on from it and make my point quite clear. There's been various sort of internet sort of blogs and stuff, one being from the Mary Sue, saying the Star Trek wasn't written for people like us. It wasn't. It was written for everybody. Yeah. It was written to be massively public appeal, so that anybody from the age of 8 to 88, even older if you want, could watch it and could understand it and could follow the simple premise of a story. Now, our great leader, Alex Kurtzman, has stated that he doesn't really care about the idea first. What he wants to do is to get the characters to an emotional point, and then they worry about the idea second. That's like getting a load of people to build a house, and then halfway through getting the architect in to say, "Oh my goodness me, what are you doing?" Oh no, right, okay, we've got to make this look like something like a house.
It's creating unnecessary amounts of work for himself and his writers, I feel, to do it that way.
Totally. It's a completely back to front principle. So what you get is what should be a simple story, because you're not focusing on the story and the plot and where you need to get from A to B, your journey. You're ending up with a mishmash of ideas, going down blind alleys, going down roads that have got no through road, dead ends, and you're just throwing together a load of nonsensical guff. There's no other word for it. Sorry to use modernity slang, but it is guff. And I counted Starship Troopers, I counted Police Academy, there was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, i.e. the mandrakes being the plants that make noises back at you. Little Shop of Horrors. I counted probably a bit of Mean Girls going in there as well. Probably a little bit of American Pie with the pranks. It's definitely Saved by the Bell, of which I've seen quite a few people on various different Facebook sites refer this to after we referred to it.
That's what it reminds me
like that last week. And I like watching stuff whilst ironing, okay? And normally the ironing takes quite a long time because I'm quite well engaged with what I'm watching. However, I have never done a basket full of ironing so quickly as I have on this episode, because I found it quite disturbing to continue to focus on the TV program and not on the ironing. I found ironing 2 king-size duvet covers more entertaining than watching this program. The characters were all over the place. How on earth can a hologram breathe underwater? Okay. How on earth can a hologram get changed? Why does a hologram need to do physical exercise? Why is Genesis
with the stuff? To be fair to them, you see, this is why I get annoyed as well. They did tell us that this hologrammatic character Sam, who I thought was really quite likable initially, I'll hold my hands up to that. I think she seems quite well cast and quite likable, and quite human out of all of them. They explained that the idea is that she wants to kind of to experience the human experience, and for her to throw herself in as if she is and to live as human. But that doesn't explain all of the practicalities of being a hologram. They lean on them when it can get them out of a plot point, it seems, which they do when the games are playing out in the mess hall. They make a virtue of the fact that she's a hologram then, and that she doesn't physically exist. And yet when it suits them, she does physically exist. She can be dunked in a and you think, well, who am I? Yeah, okay, this is 1,000 years in the future, but I'm looking at a future, a year, the 31st century, where people are still wearing trainers out of Foot Locker. So none of this makes any sense to me.
Well, Dan, see, I can explain that to you very quickly. You're assuming that the show wasn't written by complete idiots. That's all you need to know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only person who comes out of this with any dignity whatsoever is Robert Picard, because he's not fucking in it.
I mean, maybe he just saw the script and ran away for this episode. But then I want to come to the point, and this is it may be a sort of like sort of point for some people, especially in the chat, but. Look, in reality, they seem to want to base Star Trek, the Starfleet Academy, in 2025 reality. They seem to want to use the language, which was my top point that I crossed out when Gary mentioned it, with the maternity slang. They seem to want to have the same clothing and everything like that. If 2 teachers or 2 instructors, I'll use the term instructors, started discussing their home life in front of students in an institution in most of the Western world, they would probably find themselves being suspended for inappropriate discussions. Now, okay, they're talking about dinner. They're talking about finding love across the stars and all this, that, and the other. I'm a student there. Okay, I see them walking around holding hands. Absolutely no problem at all. Yeah, cool, whatever. But I don't want them to then start talking to fellow students about how they live their life, what they're having for dinner, all this, that, and the other.
It was
I
bizarre.
want to know.
Yeah, buy kitten.
Yeah, I want to know who's going to be teaching me for this particular topic. Who's going to be doing this with that topic? How am I doing with respect to my progress? I don't want to know what you're having for dinner, at all. And I just think that there are ways to show that people are in a relationship in a very subtle way, okay? And I don't think that inserting that, because, okay, my main problem is that it started to do something right, okay? It started to be, I thought, I quite like this bit. This is a bit sweet. When Tom Cruise was talking to Toxic Timmy about not hearing back from his parents.
His crush. His parents.
Yeah, and he was crushed. And she was saying, look, that maybe there are people out there that are worth spending time with, and maybe they're not there. You can tell when a person's
you're
there
right.
for
That was probably the one good line in this script. The one line that felt heartfelt.
Yeah, and then we go from there to her then talking about the fact that her replicator wasn't prepped to cook duck or whatever it was.
That's right.
And I'm going, there was such an opportunity there, and amazing to go. Actually, we're not going down that route. They could have just been a look between Plumpy and sorry, Chris, what's her name again?
Oh, we just refer to her as unemployable Tignataro.
Okay, unemployable
Reno.
Tignataro.
Apparently, the character's called Jet Reno.
That's the name of the actress, isn't it? Oh, Tignataro's name. So I always get mixed up.
Yeah, what's the character's
they could have
name?
been just the sort of like a nod or a wink, or he could have then gone off, and then they could have had that scene with him not there.
Well, it's immediate. The whole thing immediately breaks down, and it is the fault of these two actresses. They're both shit in each part. Okay, now Gina Yashir is even worse in this than she was in the first two. Every single line is played for maximum laughs. This woman is a stand-up comedian. She's not an actress. Heaven knows why they employed her in the first place. But enough is enough. Fucking terrible performance. That alone would usually mean a series of this scale would get cancelled. She's really unconvincing playing this blue, scaly alien. You can tell she's got no idea most of the things that she's saying. She's got no clue who she's meant to be. And the scenario, it's as if the woman was never went to school herself. She has such little grasp of how a teacher would speak to a student or cadet. What I don't understand is how Tignataro, a 60-odd-year-old lesbian, is so bad at playing a 60-year-old lesbian when she is a 60-year-old lesbian. What's her excuse? Terrible performances from the pair of them.
Well, like I said before, it's all the adult characters which are really, I think, awful, sabotaging, this show. And it's that as David just said, they could have, if you had writers who used scalpels instead of sledgehammers, you could have, had like a way to very subtly, rely on the audience's intelligence to put two and two together. But no, they have to stop everything cold for this little 5-minute scene to make it absolutely clear to everybody that they're a couple.
If they'd have been a heterosexual couple, they wouldn't have bothered. I think that when I look back on the episode, hear what you guys are saying, and reflect myself, I realised that the only person who put in a decent performance in this really was Bella Shepherd as Genesis.
Yes.
As dislikable as that character is, she played it well. That the character goes through a process. We see her make various decisions. Things happen to her and the people around her.
Well,
that
actually,
takes it to a point where the character, again, we like these characters, each of them, far less than we did this time last week. But that's the most positive thing I can think of saying about anybody involved in this is that Bella Shepherd, for the material that she was given, I think she did quite well with it. But everybody else was just awful. Well,
her entire character arc is daddy issues. Literal daddy issues. They actually say it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But then, as much as they're desperately trying to make the guy on the left the main character, she, I think, is the one that would be easiest to shift into a main character.
But what about Caleb's mum issues? Where is his? Where
I don't care. I don't care.
But the thing is, if it's about parents,
if it's about episode, because she's an expensive actress, then they're going to sprinkle her in.
Although, actually, what happened, David, is they forgot about that plot line.
I think so, because if you've got an episode whereby parental issues are so strong, then the biggest parental issue that we've been given, and the reason for the whole being for Caleb to be at Starfleet Academy, is that he's trying to find his mum, and he thinks that his mum might have escaped and not contacted him. And there's the whole "find my mother, take me home" sort of aspect to it. And it's almost as if, well, you've got your issues with your parents. I might have daddy issues with Genesis. And then there's the whole sort of, hello, he's looking for his mother. And he's because they've been separated for such a time. And that's the sort of premise that the major arc that we've been sort of like teased with. And it's another misstep. And I'm actually really quite angry because, as you said, Dan, the whole premise for this episode was quite simple and this should be really easy to nail.
Tried and tested, David.
Absolutely. And they should have nailed it. And it's like, again, missed opportunity after missed opportunity after misstep after misstep after misstep. I mean, the most likable character, what the hell, Picardo, doesn't even show up. And, you've got his protege, or she likes to think of him as a mentor, eating soil or whatever the sort of stuff was at one point in the lab. And you're just thinking, what on earth is going on here? And please, can somebody get Holly Hunter some new teeth? Because I cannot understand the words she's saying.
I think the big mistake, one of the biggest mistakes conceptually in the last episode was where the deaf Beta Z guy is talking to Holly Hunter about, all of your cadets have gone through, all of this training and prep and all of this mental testing and everything to even get here, right? They should have never left that line in, because that is at odds with everything we've seen. What they should have done is had a line of, look, we're starting the Academy back after the burn. We're just kind of reconstructing the Federation. We're basically taking anybody we can get.
Yes.
As cadets.
Yeah, like Police Academy, literally, like Police Academy.
Seriously. We're taking anybody we can get who wants to be here for whatever reason, and we're going to see if we can mold them, no matter their backgrounds, into a functional Starfleet officer. Coming out already in the second episode and saying that everybody's here has gone through rigorous training. They should have never said that. They should have gone the total opposite route. It would have been more consistent.
And it would have made sense. And that's the thing, because nothing what I'm watching is making sense, I'm afraid. And with Chrissy's very good point about, and I know, Chris, you were slightly smirking, probably, hopefully, when you were making the point about the murdering or at least the Chancellor being sort of vicariously liable.
The sad part is I'm not even sure, because they never cover it. I'm just going under the impression that they're dead.
Well, absolutely. But then I think this is important, because after this episode, to sort of cleanse myself, I watched the episode of The Wounded, when Miles O'Brien's former captain goes off on one and starts, acting off his own back and starts killing Cardassians. We all know what the Cardassians are up to. Even at the end, Captain Picard saying, I know that these weren't transport ships.
Yeah.
I know what your game is. I know what's going on. However, they've he's gone off rogue and started acting outside the rules. Now we've got the point is, we've got the captain of the Starfleet Academy basically saying, well, they're the rules. However, you need to discover empathy and feeling and patience and all this, that, and the other. And mocking the chap in charge of the War College, who is all about discipline and rules and, making the right cup of tea, because otherwise it tastes awful. And he's mocked for that. And it's that sort of, look, I know we've got these rules, and sometimes the rules are an ass. But the whole reason we have the rules is because otherwise things can go wrong. The things going wrong are the plants going mad and 3 people getting thrown into a wall and one of their heads being taken off.
But none of that happens. None of that interesting stuff happens until the final third. I'd even go so far as to say the final quarter. I think the time where I sort of got engaged by it was when they'd commandeered that sort of function room, the refectory area, to take the lights down and have that game go on between the two teams. I thought that had the potential to be interesting, and there were a couple of sort of novel aspects to it that I did appreciate. The idea of them having the mascots, for example, one of which had the costume of a character from classic Star Trek, which I thought that was playful, and it was respectful as a way of blowing a kiss back to the original show. I liked that. I thought it was quirky and valid and fun, and the kind of thing I'd sort of like more of from this show. But again, within minutes, I was disengaged, I suppose, by the entire proceedings. It wasn't always clear as to what exactly was going on because it wasn't directed very well. I don't think they explained what were the rules of the game they were playing very well either. So, when you're talking about games that don't exist in the real world, if they'd have been playing cricket, for example, or football or soccer, you've got a fair idea because we've all played those games. But when it's like Quidditch, a fictional game that's invented for the purposes of selling us on this particular piece of drama, they need to take a little bit more time to explain to us what's going on and why. And so I lost interest in, even with the mascots, even with the fact that it was quite moody, I lost interest virtually immediately. And it was the same with the element with when they were pulling off the final prank, because it all happened so quickly. I mean, the moments, the scenes where the Chancellor was explaining to the students, like supposedly tipping them off about giving them the idea for the plan, and she was there sort of scowling at them and saying weird things from under her fringe. She looked like Andy Serkis as Golem, sat there with her feet in the air. And to the point where I was so irritated by it. I couldn't listen to a word she was saying. I just wanted her to shut up.
Yeah. And
well, like I said, I think there's.
I couldn't wait for this episode to finish, Gary. I hated it.
I think there's a lot of merchandising potential in this episode. I think they should merchandise the little warp core jammies. I think they should sell empathy plants in the Paramount shop, and of course, don't forget about the super cool bomber jackets that everybody gets in the final scene. Those will go for a few hundred quid in the Paramount.
I'm sure they'll be up on the Paramount shop imminently. Get your own jacket that's exactly the same. I mean, Rabbi, we continue to look for logic and reason and any kind of standards whatsoever.
Why are you doing this? I listen to you talking.
I have no idea.
They're like, it's not like Star Trek. It doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. Yes,
it's not.
It's a comedy. I said that, Rabbi. It's a comedy.
Rabbi,
this is what mainstream entertainment they think is. It's dumbed down shit. It's to watch while you're watching something else on TikTok. That's exactly what it's for.
As David pointed out earlier on, with his absolutely spot on analysis of the way that this is made in comparison to the rest of TV drama, we've sailed out of those waters now, whereby this doesn't feel like Star Trek. Into the realms of this isn't competently put together.
It's not. It's shit. I tell you. Okay, what is Alex Kurtzman's skill? Obviously, TV politics, right? How he got this made is beyond me. Isn't great? How did he sign Holly Hunter? It's because he can talk his way out of anything. I think, and that's he's a good salesman. How anybody? No, that's the other thing. The people who he works for are also morons, right? We've had a massive influx of morons running everything for a long time, for about as long as there's been DEI policies. I've noticed.
The Rabbi, I thought, had a very. Rabbi always makes a lot of very wise comments, but regarding this episode, I think that he made a very wise comment at the start of the discussion, something that I've thought about as I was watching this. This show to me, is the perfect embodiment of the extent to which culture and entertainment has degraded in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And due to no small effect by my increasing annoyance all throughout with all the slang and the cursing and everything. But I thought, man, this totally summarizes all the degradation in culture in the and it's lowered the bar and it's playing to the low bar, whereas all the other series of Star Trek has raised the bar and asked the audience to operate at that higher bar.
The whole thing about a plot or a story, for me, I can only speak from my perspective, is that you have a story and you have an idea, and it needn't be the greatest idea in the world, but it has to be somewhat plausible. And then you have your characters, of whom also need to be somewhat plausible and hopefully believable. And what you do is you have your characters play through the idea, and you get to the end of the story, and your characters hopefully are in a different place as to where they were when they first started. Some may be in a better place, some may be the same, and some may be not in a very good place at all. But the whole point is that you've taken people through on a journey, and you've got from A to B, and it kind of makes sense. You don't have to like the idea. You don't have to think it's the best idea in the world, but it's an idea.
No.
Unfortunately, what we've got here is the opposite of that. And it's just, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like a choose your own adventure book without corresponding paragraphs to turn to when you've picked an adventure. And it's just all over it's like go to 42 and 42 doesn't exist. So you have to go to 43 and it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's just it's just a jumble of ideas that just do not make sense, even for people probably second or even third sight viewing.
What's your instinct about the addition of this extra character? I didn't think that the brother, the guy on the left here, his name I can't be asked remembering, who he's obviously a Beta Z as well. The addition of this extra character doesn't seem to bring anything to the series at all, apart from providing a link, a junction, whereby his sister can continue to interact with his bunkmate. That's the only thing I can think of, Chris.
No, there's a reason. So if we look at Baby Pants, he's a bumbling weakling who spends half the episode dressed up as a furry. And here's the question. Okay, so to the panel, what color is Baby Pants?
What do you mean?
Caucasian?
White. He's your bumbling white dude.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's
comic relief?
He's portrayed as a complete weakling. And that is his whole purpose in the show. Yes, you have Toxic Timmy, who is the embodiment of the toxic white male, but then he's not actually white anyway, because he is, more capable. So they had to make him a blue alien. But Baby Pants is your pure-blooded white dude. So he's basically their attempt at a punching bag. Dude, the guy spent this was like the combat episode, and he spent the entire episode dressed up as a furry.
But at least he was involved in the combat, unlike his Klingon friend.
The less said about him, the better.
Brittany likes looking at birds. Brittany was challenged a couple times in this episode, and Brittany looked absolutely terrified. It's almost like the entire character of Brittany was conceived not only to make fun of Star Trek fans, but to make fun of Klingons. And the only thing that I can guess is at this point, honor is no longer a thing among Klingons, because I can't imagine Brittany making it out of there alive. So we've emasculated the Klingons, and and yeah, so
Well,
so
Chris,
Brittany's
the point you just made a minute ago about how the goofy guy, who's the brother, is an excuse to have the princess interact with these. That's another ludicrous thing. For as much as all this 10-minute scene where they play basketball and it's like, why'd you go to the war college? Why'd you go to the war college? They're literally across the yard from where you are. They're 10 feet away from each other. And so why this whole thing? It doesn't matter what college she's at. They're going to see each other 30 times a day because they're literally 6 feet away from each other.
I don't think about
positionally.
That. Well,
it's Gryffindor versus Slytherin, essentially. That's what it is.
I was reluctant to get on board with the "this is just Harry Potter in the future" kind of thing. But after having seen this one, I reluctantly have to come round to everybody's.
I learned that I actually like Harry Potter. You just pretend that Hermione is played by somebody other than Emma Watson, and you're fine. But no, I like Harry Potter. Like they're clever books / movies. They keep your attention. I think they're very well written. The movies are typically, well directed. They maintain your interest. So I think even comparing this to Harry Potter is a complete insult to Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. Now, if you wanted to call it a completely incompetent piece of Harry Potter fan fiction, I would be more apt to call it that. But I don't want to insult Harry Potter because it's
Chris, please don't get us on the wrong side of J.K. Rowling. We don't need that kind of grief.
No, I think I agree with Chris. It's an insult to it. I believe that sort of there is an inference that it is sort of like Space Wars, as I said. It's that sort of, how can we get that dynamic into our academy? And they've looked across various different franchises. Well, that works from there, that works from there, that works from there, that works from there. How about if we all just sort of like mash it into one? We'll have a great product. It's not at all. And yeah, I won't compare it to Harry Potter because the two aren't even comparable. And it'd be wrong to compare them. So I stand corrected.
Well, there's another comparison. If you look at the War Kids, you'll notice. So these are like your toxic, militaristic little punks that are based off. Actually, I see similarities between that and that Shooty Man's Army in the 1930s and 40s. So you also have, you'll notice the demographics of the war children. That we might as well call them the Trump children because I think that's what they're supposed to be. So the moral of the story is if you're a white dude, you're either a member of that party from the times that were bad, or you're baby pants. What I find it funny is that they don't even try to do these things subtle anymore because why bother? Everybody knows what you're up to. It's now very blatant. And when you look at the demographic of the average Star Trek fan, which I've said multiple times, if you're going to come up with a show that is the least appealing as possible to your main demographic, i.e. the typical Star Trek fan, I don't think they could have done a better job than this show. This show is literally for nobody. Like, it's not for Star Trek fans. Zoomers don't have the attention span to watch the first 5 minutes of an episode, let alone, and why are these things over an hour? Jesus Christ.
That's my big thing. Why are you stealing my time?
Yes.
I was cursing it this morning because as I was trying to write my script and going through this, I'm like, please let it end. And I'm looking at the counter and I see this thing's an hour and 3 minutes long. And every time I look at it, my heart just sinks.
Chris, as far as your point about the war kids versus the academy kids, it's clear to me that they're trying to do the whole, they're trying to revisit the whole Enterprise dynamic with the Makos. You know, when the Makos were on the ship during season 3 with the Xindi. That's kind of what they're they're trying to do here. But the thing that's confusing, once again, even if that's their intention, confusingly written, is I don't get what if they're trying to draw some kind of philosophical distinction between the Academy and the War College, why do we have Holly Hunter in the closing scene, her lesson in the whole, like, what did we learn this episode, kids, scene at the end, where her lesson to Caleb involves terms like opponent and enemy and war and all of this. It's like, well, wait a minute. If you're trying to teach those concepts here, then what's the real difference between the two? It seems like they should be drawing more of a distinction.
It's incomprehensible. The script is incomprehensible. It's inconceivable as to how Rotten Tomatoes, who I've never rated anyway, how they could have certified the entire thing fresh, and it remains certified fresh. I think somebody
we expected that
needs to be certified, Chris. Look, it's streaming now for everybody to see. It's up on Paramount everywhere. America, the UK, Canada, Latin America, Australia, Austria, Japan, you name it. You can get a hold of it. So this is episode 3 of Vitus Reflux.
I refluxed. I refluxed indeed.
Right,
yes. It's yeah.
We'd like to know your thoughts, of course. Drop us a comment once you've mulled it over. Maybe you've not seen it yet. You wanted to see what we got to say. Let us know what you think when you've seen it here on YouTube and Rumble, or over at our email account, our brand new email account, warpdrivestartrek@outlook.com. More contacts to follow later on too, as our ongoing mission continues. But get yourself over onto Paramount Plus. If you've got a spare hour you don't mind burning, because it does, I hate to say this is feeling like a massive waste of time in many respects. And I thought episode 2 was okay. I was never going to rave about it, but I thought, okay, now I'm getting an idea of where this series could go. And I can accept that 3 episodes isn't very many, but we are now in a world and on a television landscape where there's only 10 episodes a season in this, and so my hopes of anything remotely worth my time are fading by the minute. That's the truth of the matter, Rabbi.
I don't know why you would hold out any hope at all. What do you think's going to happen over the next 17 episodes? Do you think it's gonna somehow
17?
What?
17? Jesus Christ! No.
Yeah,
there's a second season next year.
They filmed that.
Yeah, they just finished filming the final episode.
Jesus.
And apparently, Rabbi, this next week, it's a Jaden episode. So,
great. Which one's Jaden?
Jaden is the wussy Klingon.
Well, we refer to him. Remember, he's Brittany, the shame of Kronos.
Have you noticed they've all got modern names as well? Like
Yeah,
Caleb,
Darren.
Darren sounds like Darren, right? Jaden, Genesis is fine. Sam. They've all got like modern names.
They just couldn't be bothered with Sam, could they? It's just what's the name of your postman? Sam. Right, that'll do. What does it stand for? Oh, we'll work it out. Just it's Sam.
Yeah. Hey Dan, did you like the scene? You know, the one scene which you said you actually liked in this, which was the laser tag war.
Yeah.
About how they tell Sam, run down there and let me know something, and she actually then rolls over there. That was
a way of trying to make the set look larger than it actually was. Because I get the impression the sets I think they're quite nicely finished off, but I do feel like I'm watching a sci-fi version of the Big Brother house sometimes. I don't. They try to make it look quite big in the first episode or two, but the sets actually look quite small, if truth be told. And as you were saying, Chris, the War College is really quite a short hobble away. Now, I got the impression that the War College was maybe a couple of blocks away, a couple of streets away.
It's across the yard.
It's across the yard.
What does it say when even that the Pinewood Studios in Toronto are too ashamed to let them make a big set? I still intend on going there with my sign because I know exactly where it's filmed. I just haven't yet. Well, it's too late now. It's why protest it? You've launched it, Skydance.
We've got some comments.
It wasn't filmed on the Paramount lot. It was filmed in Toronto.
Everything except for Picard has been filmed in Toronto.
All right.
We've got comments to get to. We've got the view screen to check out as well, because there's been a lot of talk about this week. A lot of fun has been had at the expense of episode 3 in particular of Starfleet Academy, but it's not looking good for the entire production. Let's see what everybody's got to say out there. It's a good job we've got all this technology, isn't it?
Why buy just a video game from Atari or Intellivision? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300. The Commodore VIC-20. Unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With the Commodore VIC-20, the whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
Cheers, Bill. Yes, we've been plotting where you're
at.
And
Dan, I just got to mention that toupee was much better than last week. Congratulations.
It was.
Well, I'll try and get a Shatner ad every week, and maybe we could sort of look at them in chronological order, and you can sort of a spotter's guide to the syrup of figs, and we could maybe put together a hit list at the end of the season, and we can work out where he was getting it right. And when he may have gone down the transplant route as well, because apparently he has. But where
he
are
definitely
you at?
has, like 20 years ago, I think.
We want to know where you're at. We want to know where you're at with this as well, though. Of course we do. Thank you for your patience, your indulgence so far. You've enjoyed and savoured our pain as we've recounted an hour spent with the plucky cadets at Starfleet Academy in that latest episode. Our hailing frequencies are open back, thankfully, in the 23rd century, in the capable hands, if only, of Uhura there. Let's see what people have got to say. Who said what about what and where? Okay, we've got some comments. Mark's joined us again. Mark Laseth says, I know she's 70, but her feet are not that cute. I think he's talking about Mumbles there, Chris. The Mumbles' feet that she keeps waving it at us, but they're not all that after all. Even foot fetishists would struggle to get any pleasure.
She's 67, but yes, basically 70. Not something that we really want to see. There comes a time when you just don't want to show things off, and that happens to all of us. So yeah, please put some shoes on.
Mark also goes on to say that having the Academy and the War College sharing grounds is just silly. That the silliness doesn't begin or end there. But thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments, Mark. Lucy's joined us too and says it will eventually become Star Trek's Acolyte. So hinting at that they could try and memory hole this. But of course, the Acolyte was cancelled virtually instantly. Just as you said, Gary, they've made, or was it the Rabbi? They've made a second season of this.
They just finished. They just finished filming the finale, the season 2 finale.
Money to burn, right, Bill? Money to burn. Oh.
I mean, it's literally 170 million. I mean, like it's not like I think they're just all embezzling the money. It's like a money laundering.
It's got to be a fiddle. Somewhere.
Like 170 million. Who would say 170 if you're not going to get kickback from that?
Sorry, Chris. Just because they filmed it, Chris, you might be able to answer this. Does it mean that it'll get shown?
No. I would reference the Batgirl movie that didn't turn out very well. Although no, this will be shown. Skydance has disappointed all of us. So thanks a lot, Skydance, you bastards.
Yeah, they should have Batgirled this shit. We all said it.
Although, Chris, if you're
streaming platforms can change hands. They can change their MOs, and even things that they've made themselves in-house can sometimes get sold on. Last year, I think it was last year, maybe 18 months ago, Netflix made a show called Nautilus, an update of the Captain Nemo stories, starring Shazad Latif as Captain Nemo, believe it or not. And that cost them quite a lot of money. As I understand it, some of the Star Trek people, Discovery people, I mean, not proper Star Trek people, were involved in that. But it was eventually sold on to, strangely enough, to Amazon. So potentially, and look what happened with Star Trek Prodigy. That had got a network, it had got a home, and then no one wanted it, and it ended up somewhere else. So my belief is that Academy Season 2 will get shown, but it could end up getting tucked away somewhere else if reception continues to be bad. Paramount, particularly as they're in a state of flux, where they are at, how they wish to be perceived by their customer base by the time next January, February happens, could be noticeably different to where they are now. So
the damage is done.
But Star Trek is such a big. The thing is, the difference is, Rabbi. The difference is that Star Trek is such a huge brand, and this has been so trumpeted that I don't think they can do a Batgirl with it, because movies come and movies go. But the second season of a show that's been established, a rabid fan base.
Not the second season. I mean, it's going to happen, right? They've committed that. That's why I'm just so astounded. Right, it's going to happen. Well, they shouldn't. They should have just a memory. They should have pulled this before it went out.
Well, all of the filming for Kurtzman Trek is done. So now the rest of the year is just doing post-production for Strange New World seasons 4 and 5 and Academy season 2. All the main filming is all done.
It'll be all hands on deck for that to get it all wrapped up as soon as possible. Julianne Goodwin has joined us here on YouTube and asks, how can anyone compare The Next Generation to this sinkhole? Well, we have to compare it to other Star Trek shows, because that's the best yardstick we've got to judge their success or failure. So when we do that, I think it's perfectly reasonable that we do it, Julianne. But I know what you mean. PD Rich is also here too and says it's a pretty show, but with crappy writers and showrunners. And Lucy says the spaceship doesn't look like a three-dimensional object.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, I mean, I think initially, Voyager was the first ship that was designed without being a physical model, wasn't it? Because Doug Drexler had designed that using the exact same principles that he had for everything else he'd ever designed. It was put together with the same intellectual weight to it, I suppose. The viability was still there. It still felt like it belonged. I understand that there was eventually a Voyager model that was built, but it was after the show was made. But here, I think we're now at a point whereby they think, well, it doesn't really matter that these things are meant to make scientific sense. Does it look cool? Or we've got a set of designs that our intern has put together over the space of 2 or 3 days. We can't really afford to spend too much more time looking at that. So which is the one we go for? My instinct is that's how they do it now. And Lucy also points towards Lower Decks and says this show does align more closely to Lower Decks.
That is so much better. So much better.
The ship's interior is like the Meadow Hall shopping centre in Sheffield, all decked out for Christmas, according to Julianne. And I know exactly what you mean. And yes, you're right. You're right. It does.
Completely right.
And lots of people feel just as you have, Gary, about the language. It's fracturing what little reality exists, what little of its claim to belonging in the Star Trek universe is completely broken. In fact, never mind fractured, by their insistence of not just the bad language, but all of the references as well, all of the buzzwords. Dumpster fire, I ask you. Ridiculous. We've got a comment here too from Positive Fandom 9066. Hi, gents. Would have been cool if she was more like our resident advisor, Photonic, and she could help with the cadets. So Positive Fandom there, PF, is talking about Sam, I feel, but isn't the Doctor, Robert Picardo's character, he is effectively a resident kind of advisor, is he not?
He is, but when he's not singing opera. And I think they're misusing the Doctor's character greatly, I believe.
I mean, it became clear to me that they intend, I think the intention was for her to be the Data character of this show.
Yeah.
But it's too inconsistent because, like you said, why is she running Why is she running around screaming during the war games on the little battlefield if she can just stand still and let the blasts go through her? That makes no sense. It's played
Hopefully they'll spend some more time with that character, because I am, again, it's something that Star Trek's done the time and time again, hasn't it? The understanding what it means to be human. Maybe she's screaming and shouting because she can see all the human beings running around, and if not screaming and shouting, they're sweating. How do I process that? But because these are characters we barely, I'm trying to be generous with it, because of all the characters, I did quite like her. But we're not spending enough time with us for it to be grounded.
Can I ask you a question? Why? Why are you trying to be like what has this done to engender your generosity?
I want to make it clear. I'm not trying to like her. So for some reason, in those first 2 episodes, I just liked her. I just thought it was a nice performance, and I thought she was quite memorable, and I liked the earnestness that she was playing the part. But,
what I would have liked, Dan, if I may, coming on from your point, and also positive fandoms, is that if they could have had, even if it's a 1 minute scene with her talking to the Doctor about all the behaviours she's observing, and just asking for an input and for some advice, because that would actually be quite nice. And you could see, right, okay, so this is why she's doing it, because the Doctor says, just observe what they're doing and just try and fit in, and just trying to, and that would be just be a little bit more warmer.
I believe, David, that was the relationship that we were meant to be seeing the seeds of in the first episode, but because it was so fast and noisy, and there were so many characters being introduced either side of each scene, it was very difficult to stay with anybody and to process the connections that were being made, because it all had this air of superficiality about it. I think that in many respects they'd have been wiser going with a 90 minutes. I know it was about an hour and a quarter, so it's quite So you could say it was feature length anyway. But I think if they'd have conceived it to be a literally feature length, an hour and a half, in the way that old Star Trek pilots used to be, they could have afforded themselves a bit more time. And the whole thing could have been considered far, far better. And they could have said, okay, this is where this relationship is going to go. And you may not get this next week. You may not get it the week after, but you might get it the week after that. And it could be worth sticking for that if you liked either of these 2 people. And that's what they used to do when they were putting TV series together like this. Now they don't seem to bother. They seem to They seem to believe that because they've got Star Trek slapped across the top of the logo, that people will stay with it through hell and high water. But as the Rabbi says, I think that those days are gone. Even with people, even Keith Isles isn't a Star Trek completist anymore. And he was far more
he hang in there with Discovery
than the rest of us.
He hang in there. He stayed as the post captain of all the other trainees ran. He was that guy.
We've got Section 31 wasn't even this bad, according to Lord Thoth. And Collins says there's a similar episode in Wednesday where they went to camp to this. Synth Dimension is missing Star Trek Enterprise so much in comparison to this. And Positive Fandom chips in and says, Caleb is Diesel. At least they got a honk. Is Diesel a good thing? Is Diesel a new slang term for being fit?
Diesel's good. Diesel's quite a top comment, That gets a thumbs up.
Anti-derivative Jill has also chipped in with 2 questions, really. Even asking why a hologram is taking a shower isn't even the biggest question. Where are the sonic showers? They've existed in Star Trek in multiple series before, haven't they, Chris?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Again,
good question.
The show's written by idiots, so that would involve you actually knowing anything about Star Trek lore. So, that's the least of its problems. Continuity be damned.
They were sonic showers. Well, I didn't realize they were.
No, Rabbi, you're giving them too much credit.
I am.
And finally, we've got this from Hippomancy, who says, feeling the hate. you guys should go back to your Star Wars. So,
All
juvenile
right.
remark.
You took that as well, you cunt.
I'll go ahead and say this in a minute. Let me say this, and this is just my opinion. I think given competent scripts and a better overall direction, I actually am confident that this cast of the cadets, not the adults, that the cadets would be capable of rising to well-written scripts and a better conceived show. I still think that Holly Hunter is miscast. I think that the Jem'Hadar Joe Martin is a one-dimensional character that has no place in this show. But I think that if this was better written and better conceived, I actually think that this show could work. But the writing is just sabotaging it.
I
thought we'd got
to find out, is it?
I thought we'd got to the point. I thought we got to the point where we weren't in a place where we were fielding. Please don't take offense at this hippomancy, but infantile remarks like this, smooth-brained nonsense, whereby people have had a negative, have published or offered negative reviews of something, and therefore they are haters, and they should watch something else instead. Grow the fuck up, my friend. You may feel differently about this episode and the series largely, and that's okay too. These are our opinions and our words, and we choose them as we will, and our responses to the material is completely genuine.
And I don't hate it. I'm really disappointed with it.
And as for Star Wars, the assumption somehow that we're all big Star Wars fans based on the fact that we didn't like this, I don't even know where that's coming from. So by all means, all opinions are genuinely welcome here, but not with this kind of attitude. If you're going to come in being adversarial and insulting, you can fuck right off and enjoy the rest of 2026.
Well, I don't even like Star Wars.
Well, he's just mad because we made fun of him in an earlier infomercial. So I'm sorry, buddy. Sorry about that, Amanda.
Yeah, you got to start calling a spade with this sort of stuff, because these are grown men and women who come out with this. You're just haters. You shouldn't speak about these kinds of things. You shouldn't have these opinions. Well, fuck off. Imagine if, say, people pay for these streaming services. Sometimes they pay for a streaming service specifically to follow one franchise, Chris, and that's what the customer is always right. And
I can't believe I'm paying for this.
Look, an hour of the rabbi's viewing time is worth something, not just to him. It should be worth something to them as well.
Why can't they make these 42-minute episodes? There's so much flab in them.
God knows.
The thing is, there's no reason for this to be an hour and 3 minutes.
What I say to Hippomancy is, look, okay, I don't hate this show.
He's gone, mate. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
What I generally say to everybody watching is, I don't hate this show. I'm really disappointed by this show.
Oh, I hate it.
I know you do, Chris, but that's why I love you. But
Thanks, man.
I don't. I'm just disappointed by it. Okay, because look, I've got a book that was bought for me by my lovely wife, by the lovely Rich and Reverend Coles, who is well known in the UK as a sort of like a TV. He was a vicar. Used to be in the band the Communards, and is now a retired vicar. Yeah. He used to be the piano player. But anyway, he's written a series of books. Murder Before Evensong. It's the first one. It's been televised, adapted for TV on Channel 5. Lots of positive reviews about it. I'm 89 pages into 370 odd pages worth, and it is really hard going. Okay, it is really tough going. We've not had a murder yet, and it is really, really, really tough going. I don't hate it. I don't loathe it. I don't, but that's just my view on the book. I'm not really enjoying it, but I'm going to see it through to the end because I've committed to it. And it was a present bought for me. I'm going to see Starfleet Academy through to the end because I've committed to it. It doesn't mean that I have to enjoy it or not enjoy it. I'm currently not enjoying it, okay? And that's just my own views. I don't hate on anything. I don't go into something wanting to hate it. And I don't believe the vast, vast majority of the people watching this stream or in the Star Trek fandom do. They just want it to be entertaining and make sense. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's not doing that. So if you like it, sing from the hills. I'm really, really, really proud of you for liking it, and I really, go forward and really sing that you really like it. However, if you don't like it, as long as you can be constructive and explain why you don't like it, then we should have the same rights to say that we don't like it, just as you have the same rights to like it. And there doesn't need to be any name calling. It's just two differences of opinion. And, I don't even like fucking Star Wars anyway. So that's my piece on that matter.
I've been on this platform for a really long time. Chris far, far longer, and the Rabbi longer as well. And there was a time where it used to be a wall of remarks like that, particularly in YouTube comments, where people would go and follow individual content creators around, just making comments.
I still get
like that. I have zero tolerance now for it. My answer will not change on that. Everybody is welcome in this chat with whatever opinion they've got. You don't insult us, and we won't insult you. Are we clear? Is what I'm saying to that gentleman and anyone else so minded. Yes, so Starfleet Academy blows. Not our opinion, of course. Hippomancy, Q's. We've just had this in from Q. And sadly, what also blows is that Chris is out of time. We're going to be Chrisless. Time has flowed by, mate. But thank you. I do appreciate you sticking with us. I don't know where the last couple of hours has gone.
It's flown by, and yes, unfortunately, folks, if I'm going to get my my shouty video out tomorrow, I have to head off because I still have about 8 hours of work to do on it because I'm in absolute hell. I get to finish polishing my script, then I get to record it, then I get to spend a couple hours editing the audio file, then I get to experience this joy of an episode once again to get screen caps. So I'm loving life, and I do have an update on our friend Frank before I go, because I know people have asked what's Frank up to. So I've reinstated the our last image of Frank. So last time we caught up with Frank, he was being chased by Satan, and it's gotten much worse because Satan is under the impression that Frank might be responsible for Starfleet Academy, and he's not impressed. He's so rest in peace, Frank. He's God. So not only is he still bringing the end of the world has been delayed because Satan is now focusing on Frank, but this all could potentially be Frank's fault, and it might not have been Alex Kurtzman. It may have been Frank all along. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But yes, folks, I will try and get further along next week, so I don't have to bounce early. But yes, if I don't get a move on this now, the next episode will be out before my showdy parody of this episode is out.
Chris, just make sure you go get an empathy plant.
A scented candle.
I need some empathy, yes, folks. I'm asking for your thoughts and prayers, because while everybody else after the stream is over is done with this episode, I get to spend many more hours with this episode. I hope you all enjoy it, because I don't. So so follow me on the YouTube channel. Look me up, Bowlestrek. You'll get, if you search, you'll get my channel, and a bunch. There's like 50 videos out there saying that I'm the Antichrist. Those are always good for a laugh. But anyways, I'm going to sign off, and I love that picture. Yeah. That's
I don't know. I think the only one that really belongs in the airlock is the Discovery.
Well, you need to add Chancellor Mumbles there, but again, everybody, take care. I will see you next week for what I'm sure is going to be a work of absolute genius. I can't wait. I'm in hell, but I do it because I love you. Bye.
Thank you, Chris. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I think I think. And before we leave you, we have been looking at the view screen to see what people are talking about this time. And it just seems that even though he wasn't actually in the episode, most people are talking about Robert Picardo. He has put himself right in the line of fire. He is prepared to die on this hill, defending Starfleet Academy and its young cast. I suspect he feels fatherly towards them, or grandfatherly towards them, maybe. And when the show was fielding this criticism for being woke and just playing shit, Robert Picardo was right onto X. He's quite active on there, to be fair, and he does engage and talk to people generally quite respectfully. He seems like a nice enough fella. But he says, long before the term existed, Star Trek's heart was woke. And even though that word has been hijacked and made a cudgel to insult, to ridicule, and at the toxic extremes of social media to justify prejudice and racism, Star Trek's heart is strong and still beating for those listening. So what he's saying is that this is authentic Star Trek, Gary. That's fine. He's entitled to his opinion. I mean, he's representing the brand, but it's yet another celebrity, person in the public eye, who hasn't really got any grasp of what the term woke actually means. I don't know when they're gonna. If this was people from the other side of the aisle, they'd be told to educate themselves. I mean, have you been aware of this? Have you seen? Because it's going on Facebook as well. Robert Picardo running defense for the entire production, not just his castmates.
Well, look, I've loved this franchise pretty much my whole life. I don't enjoy being subjected to disappoint. I'll be fair. Something so disappointing that goes by the name of Star Trek. And if I point out its shortcomings, I don't honestly think that makes me a racist. It makes me somebody who's disappointed that they relentlessly hire writers who do not understand the franchise, who do not understand science fiction. And as I just said, I honestly believe that the ingredients here could work, but the writing is fatal so far. And no amount of putting blinders on is gonna change that.
I couldn't agree more. I wish Robert Picardo all the best. Sincerely, I got a lot of time for him. I enjoy his performances in this too. I think he's been excellent for the most part. But I'm going to agree to disagree. I have offered to correct him and inform him in open conversation on what it actually woke is. But as of yet, I haven't received any kind of response. The other thing that people have been talking about, I think, seems to be the relationship there between the Jem Hadar character, whose name I can't be bothered remembering, and Jet Reno. So, yes, end wokeness on X, said Star Trek 2026 actors reveal that they are a lesbian couple in an upcoming episode. So this is the revelation that Jet Reno and the Jem Hadar Klingon First Officer #1 are together. They're in a relationship. Completely unfeasible. Largely, I mean, irrelevant, as I've always seen it. So, in the context of the episode, we covered it earlier on. It was pointless. I can't, in my opinion, covering the sexual orientations of characters or their domestic life any more than a few throwaway remarks like "What's for dinner?" I don't think it should go anywhere from there. But you can see why in insensitized times, after so much DEI, so much woke, so much virtue signaling, you can see why accounts like End Wokeness exist and why they would put this on blast. It attracted the attention of probably the most famous man in the world. Elon Musk responded to this on his own platform simply by saying, groan. A groan heard the whole world over, I feel, because I do feel largely the same. yeah, I just don't want this show for all. Yeah, people should be talking about this show about how can a series with such low standards have got made. How could they have made 20 episodes of this? That's what people should be talking about. Not all this stuff. So hopefully this will all be nipped in the bud now, because I do sense, David, that the tolerance for studios and individual productions using groups of people to prop up poor television, the people just haven't got the tolerance for that anymore. And they don't care. They don't care whether they're called names or not. They're just not interested. It's that, and they've grown in the way that Elon Musk has.
I think we're beyond that point now. If we're in 1998, then perhaps that would have been a necessary statement to make. But we're not. So what? So what if they want to be in a relationship together? You know, what interests me more is what they are as a character. My daughter's a lesbian. She's in a lesbian relationship, but the thing is, it doesn't define her. Just like if people have got people should not be defined by their characteristics.
Well, that's exactly the problem with this. They are only lesbian.
They should be defined by who they are. Exactly. You know, and if part of them is being in a same-sex relationship, it shouldn't matter to people. People shouldn't go, oh well, oh my goodness me. But if that's, they shouldn't be defined. You shouldn't be defined by one of your characteristics.
Here's the thing, David, and this isn't just true with this franchise or this genre or even this show. In the last few years, what you do is you have writers who are, whether through inexperience or incompetence or whatever, they have nothing to draw on other than either their own, political, social leanings or whatever. So when they're trying to conceive characters or create a character from whole cloth, one of the first things they do is, okay, what about this character? Oh, okay, let's make them gay. Oh, let's make them lesbian. And they think that one-line little log line constitutes deep characterization to them, and that's all they need to do, because they don't have the imagination to actually create a character who's made up of a lot of different things. So they go with what they think is the most important thing, which is their sexuality, and they think job done.
Well, my daughter saw this because she is on that platform. I'm not. And she just went, really? And is this all, it doesn't tell me what sort of character they are. It doesn't tell me about their behaviors. It doesn't say if they're a likable person. It doesn't say if they're a good person or a bad person. If anything.
That's all irrelevant to these writers.
Yeah, why does this always have to define people? And because, my daughter just wants to be accepted for who she is, not certain elements of her of what she likes.
I'm convinced that's the same with most groups of people, even people who ethnically, for example, or people who are religious, subscribe to one particular religious belief. I think, I'm convinced that nobody wants to be seen in that kind of binary way. But just try telling the makers of Star Trek in the 21st century that I'm with Elon Musk. They're a hearty groan. I think the week definitely belongs to this fabulous meme, though. I think it was probably created by Grok, which could explain, as the rabbi said, that Captain Kirk looking more like Vince Manana than William Shatner. But still, the message comes across loud and clear. They don't approve. Neither do we. Stop it, Holly. She's not going to. She's not going to.
No, it's already filmed. They already done it.
So that was what was on the view screen this week. Maybe it was on your view screen on your smartphone. What did we miss? Is there something we missed? Let us know. Of course, we're all eyes and ears, but we can't be over absolutely everything. We've got to watch Starfleet Academy. So
I found the new Game of Thrones shows to be a good palate cleanser.
Night of the Seven Kingdoms, is it something?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's like normal TV. I mean, it does start off with somebody having violent projectile diarrhea, but other than that, it's like you're watching a TV show. You're not watching this. I don't know, pap. I don't even know how to describe it. My favorite thing though right now definitely is Pluribus, which I'm like really plugging hard to everybody. It's
I've heard
really
a couple of my good friends have really recommended that to me, as well as I know you have to me before, Rabbi.
That's the Vince Gilligan show, isn't it?
Indeed.
But
anyway,
has it got a certified fresh from Rotten Tomatoes? Go on, carry on.
Sorry, a strange segue. I'm cream crackered, mate. I waited too long to tell Chris, but I am cream crackered, and I need to go and take that nighttime shit, right? And climb the Wooden Hill to Bedfordshire. That's my plan right now, which will all be more enjoyable than watching Starfleet Academy.
You've only got a few more days to wait for the next episode, mate. Hope to see you back next time anyway.
Yeah, that's right there.
See you next time, Rabbi. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care, mate.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yes, so they've transported. I'm getting my franchises mixed up. They've transported away, but we're still here for just a little bit longer, and you're still there too. So stay where you are, and we'll bring some more, a little bit more.
Introducing the Star Trek Fact Files, the definitive new magazine series about the Star Trek universe. Detailed files on every character, every alien, every planet. Blueprints of the starships, inside information on all the technology. These files take you through every Star Trek experience, from the first missions through Star Trek First Contact and beyond. The Star Trek Fact Files, the magazine series that transports you right into the Star Trek universe, at your newsagent now.
Yes, we've done as best we can to come up with some interesting opinions and to say something new about Starfleet Academy and that third episode in particular. As it turns out, I think our takes are probably largely the same as the millions of other, it seems, voices, whether they're Star Trek fans or not, all across social media, who seem to be universally damning this production. Not something I enjoy saying. I think it could have been good, and maybe it may rally as the weeks go on. I think we've got to hope, haven't we? We've got to hold some hope, Gary. We've got to polish our badges, our communicators there, and hold the course. I think that's the trick. Hold the course and keep laughing in the way that in the way the original crew did. I think that's the secret to making it through this particularly troublesome mission.
We're not. I mean, we don't. I don't sit down for this stream and go, oh, here we go. Not at all. I love it. There's a Star Trek poster on my wall right there. I love this franchise. This does not bring me pleasure. The show does not bring. On Thursday night, after I had watched this on Thursday, was flipping around. There's a retro channel in LA. And in the evenings, they run like a TOS episode and then a TNG episode and then a DS9 episode. And the TOS episode just that night just happened to be my favorite TOS episode, The Doomsday Machine, which is my original series episode. And of course, I've seen it a million times, had to leave it on and still watch it. And my thoughts throughout the episode drifted there to like, I was like, there's no way that, I mean, there is a universe-sized gap between the quality of the writing on that show and the quality of the writing on this one. And it's sad that they don't have enough honest love for this franchise to try to get the best writers possible for it.
They have a set of writers which they seem to have sort of trained up out of nowhere, David. Just as Gary says, they don't employ the best and the brightest. I think on one hand, we're sort of trapped between the devil and the deep blue sea, really, because I think that we're all well aware of when writers are past their best. They sometimes stay on one show or on one particular brand that bit too long, and you can tell when they're a spent force. you think, oh, you should move on to something else by now. But by the same measure, there's a lot to be said for seeing somebody's name in the credits and being able to sit that bit easier in your chair when you're going to watch something, weighing it up that you've got a better than average chance of feeling satisfied and having been entertained by the time the credits end. Now it seems that these productions are run as schemes to bring not just one or two new talents through, supported by a group of experienced writers, but just all new writers, and let them learn on the fly on not just very expensive productions, but also the most important intellectual properties that people have carried through their entire lives. There's several people in the live chat on all our shows say, I've been watching this show all my life. I've been supporting Star Trek all my life. And it's rewarding me with crap like this and experiences such as Section 31 this time last year. I think that there's only so many times that people are going to get cornholed for this stuff or continue to pay for Paramount Plus or whatever. But when it comes to the writers, I think, well, where are they looking? Are we really meant to believe that these are the best people available? And who do they think they're helping by affording them I don't want to use the word platform because that's so cringe as well, by affording them the space to fail so publicly over and over again? I don't think they'll thank them in the long run.
No, it's like sticking your youth team out every week in a sports game, whether it be football, cricket, rugby, whatever. It just setting people up to fail is not a very kind thing to do. It's not a very supportive thing to do. And people need. It doesn't seem to be that sort of apprenticeship now for writers anymore. Like in the UK, it used to be people used to do the hard work on EastEnders, Coronation Street, Casualty, The Bill, you name it, Juliet Bravo, if you want to go all that way back, Emergency Ward 10, and they would get lots and lots and lots of background behind them, purely to understand structure, plot, characters, characterization, tone, dialogue, and how to be able to put it into a realistic term. As you quite rightly said, that there are some writers who have used up the ink in their well and perhaps should go off into other areas. But from my perspective, it is not a very good way to put new writers into a well-established project without the requisite experience in either screenwriting, novel writing, short story writing, or anything like that. Maybe it's because there is just not the talent out there anymore. I don't believe that to be true. Maybe it's because they want a certain type of writer or a certain individual.
I didn't. If I came off as implying that Star Trek, either Starfleet Academy or Star Trek as a whole, should not use new writers, that is not what I meant to say. If you go back, I know, but if you go back to TNG, when Michael Piller took over the writers' room in season 3, he basically had an open door policy for pitching. That's how we got Ron Moore, who came in with the Worf script in season 3 and became one of the franchise's brightest stars. And I think they had an open door policy. I think I remember him saying one day a week or one day a month or whatever, they had a door where people could just come and pitch their ideas, to Piller and the writers. But they had a structure whereby even if it was a new writer, they would be like apprenticed and shepherded by more experienced writers and stuff until they developed their own feel for developing quality Star Trek scripts. I can't even imagine, based on the evidence of the finished product, that there is anything like that going on now.
Yeah,
Woogie,
I would agree with that.
Woogie has joined us on YouTube and offered this this comment. The original Star Trek had writers who had actual life experience, like fighting in World War II. Today's life experience is a soft internship and posting TikTok videos.
Yeah.
But people can't help the times that they're born in, and I wouldn't wish to burden this young generation, the youngest generation, with something as monumental and life or death, shall we say, as a world war. But I know exactly what you're saying, in that tough times make tough people, and also there's the appetite, I suppose, for listening to the stories, not just of the greatest generation, like the generation that fought in the Second World War, but any generations that have sort of come along since who are still around to tell their stories. This generation, this new crop, aren't interested in the stories of real people. They're only interested in idealism. You could argue that the idealism is at the heart of Star Trek. I think it's even true up to a point, but it was never to the extent whereby it would mean that simple working practices to deliver the best material for the viewer would be abandoned. The viewer was still at the heart of the show. Gene Roddenberry was very minded towards the viewers. So was Lucille Ball. Everybody else there were intrinsic parts of the original series of Star Trek coming to the screen. I think that's the difference that we're in now. People, there's this feeling that they're entitled to your viewing time. Imagine that, when there's more choice than ever.
Yeah.
More choice than ever, and yet people feel more entitled now to your viewing time than they did in the 60s. Yeah. I think that's.
And honestly, I also got to say that if I was we were talking last week about how, well, this is a YA show, a young adult show. And I don't think that automatically is a lesser term or a derogatory term. Every age group needs quality material presented to them that's just for them, and that's fine. But if you are developing a YA script for, let's say, the target audience is 14 to 18, let's say, whatever their age group is, I personally, just me, would be insulted if I thought that people writing this show or any show thought that because of my age, I'm automatically going to be interested in shows if they have a lot of sweary language, or if they have a lot of, obnoxious teens, or a lot of insubordinate teams, because of my age group, that's what I'm interested in. I would be insulted by that.
That assumption was never made there. I think we're looking at a time. Yeah, advertisers would always look at where to effectively advertise their products, and therefore what demographic a show was appealing to. But it never dominated editorially in the way that it does now. And I think that's contributed so much to the blandness of current television, to the point where a franchise as huge as Star Trek can be serving up something as forgettable as this Starfleet Academy. 3 episodes so far. Kids these days, Beta Test and Vetus Reflux are all up on Paramount Plus app there globally. My advice would be, on the strength of these, I think Beta Test was okay, mostly okay. But if you're waiting to see what this is all going to be like, to binge watch it later, wait until some sort of traumatic life experience where you think you just want some moving wallpaper in the background to take your mind off it. Don't spend any valuable time on this. We'll let you know if the story changes as best we can, and we'll continue watching it so you don't have to, as long as you get one in for us at closing time, and we can all drown our sorrows together. There's how many episodes of this left to go? Is there, Gary, 7 episodes left of Starfleet Academy? That's just season 1. Heaven knows what will be around for season 2, but that's just season 1. And we've gone back to school, whether we like it or not. I'm hating this a lot more than I hated actual school, David. That's the thing.
Well, if my school was like that, hell, I don't think I've ever got any qualifications whatsoever. I wouldn't know where I was, to be fair, if my school had been like that. But
I'm gonna here's my prediction for one of the episodes we'll probably get this season. And I don't know, I haven't seen any of the screeners. I know that like screeners for like the first 5 episodes or whatever went out. I don't have any predictions, but I'm expecting that just like this, we got the rivalry episode this week. At some point, we're going to get the party episode where somebody brings in like illegal, like Romulan ale or something, which has a lot of goofy, hilarious effects
hallucinogenics
on our cadets. Like it's going to make the Betazoid princess go crazy. It's going to make the light girl fritz out, and everybody is going to be like high on Romulan ale. You know, David, that there's going to be an episode like that.
It's coming.
And there's going to be an episode where the Betazoid's emotional regulator fails.
Fritz is out.
Yeah. And it's going to be
no doubt.
That's going to be carnage as she loses control all over.
And he's
the
going
place.
to and the main kid is going to have to talk her down.
Yeah.
They're having their cake and eating it with this sort of starship masquerading as a school building as well. I think it could be a couple of weeks until we get back out into space myself. I'm not expecting any traditional Star Trek adventures anytime soon, but I'm going to stick with it and see where we go. I'm not as stimulated by the prospects as I think I should be. But I am, I'm excited about where we're going to go here at Warp Drive, a Star Trek podcast. I am enjoying doing this so far. Earlier editions and entire seasons of this show are up on the Warp Drive Star Trek YouTube channel right now. So you can catch up with earlier incarnations of us and some of our panelists reviewing Picard Season 3 and various other shows that we watched, other seasons of Star Trek that we have reviewed for you before on this very show in times past. So go over to Warp Drive Star Trek, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and yes, stick with it. Stick with us if you can't stick with the show. Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time to warp out. But yeah, thank you again to the Rabbi from another planet. If you don't know where to find him by now, you never will. Sfila Betkin on YouTube, as always. I think he live streams most days now, certainly videos every single day, right across the gamut of pop culture as it's happening in real time, with lots of cheeky commentary thrown into the mix as well on any one of a number of subjects. You get pure, unadulterated Rabbi there over on his channel. So go and look him up and sub up and load up on all things Rabbi. As for Bowlestrek, I'm not quite sure when his video will be out, but I'll be waiting with bated breath, just like everybody else. Heaven knows what he's going to say, but I think it's going to be colourful. I can guarantee that, Gary. But what a privilege
we need to keep Bowlestrek in our thoughts. I think this is going to be like a psychological Rubicon that we'll have to see if he
when
makes
this is
it
all
to the
over,
other side.
We will owe him a big favor. So we'll have to think about giving him the choice.
Dale, let's pitch in. Let's all the rest of us pitch in, and we'll buy him the steelbook for this first season.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong, David? It's a very generous
selection. And a miniature and a model of the USS Athena as well. Aye, Captain.
Yeah. Thank you, David. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have you got any more sporting occasions to attend, or are you chilling out tomorrow with the good lady, or you go to church even?
No, tomorrow I'll see how the weather is and hopefully go for a long walk. And Tuesday, Lincoln City versus Bradford at our place. If we win, we go 9 points ahead of Bradford and take that really remarkably unlikely step towards being in the second tier of the English Football League since for over 60 years, which for a small club like us is massive. And so that's what I've got to look forward to on Tuesday. So I'm looking forward to that, and obviously rejoining you guys on Type 40 hopefully on Thursday if you're still doing the broadcast on that.
There we go. Time will tell, everybody. I forgot to say that I've been Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments, for listening, for joining in, for helping us work our way through this, work it out one way or another. But this is where we warp out. We'll see you out there somewhere, maybe. If not, same time next week. Don't you worry about that. We're going to hold the course here at Warp Drive. You enjoy the rest of your weekends, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.